Hi everyone, Tiffany here with another scrapbook process video for you. This is going to be my second layout with the April kits from the Hip Kit Club, and also a video response to GinaBeth's Winter Wednesday challenge, which was to use the phrase best day ever. Not a phrase I use very often in my scrapbooking, but I'm making it work. The first thing I'm going to do here is just trim down my photos. The larger one is 4x4 and the two smaller ones are 2.5 inches square. Last week, one of the Hip Kit design team members named Amelie, hopefully I'm not butchering her name, did a layout where the only pattern paper she used was the background. And so I was inspired to try to use my embellishments in a slightly different way by her. So that's another thing I'm going to kind of do with this layout. We got this full package of Maggie Holmes style board frames with the kit. And I haven't really used frames very much in my scrapbooking, so I'm challenging myself to use up a few of those on this layout, especially since I have these little tiny pictures. So I'm just kind of going through and picking ones I think will work. And the one on the right is actually rectangular. It's meant to be for like an iPhone photo shape, so I'm going to have to do something with that little empty spot. But I like the frames I started with, so that's the ones I'm going to use. Now I'm looking for background paper, and I grab that black and white diagonal stripe is from Amy Tangerine +1, and the hearts are from my Mind's Eye, the Mildred collection. It's called Loved, and then I also grab some plain white cardstock. So I'm just kind of looking at these on the backgrounds and trying to decide, and making a huge mess of the frames and the photos as I do so. The aqua there is In a Hurry from Studio Calico's Lemon Lush line, and that's the one I'm actually going to end up using. But I am going to just try the hearts one more time. And at this point I decide that it's a pain to keep moving these around without having them glued down, so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere the frames down to the photos and commit to that. And then I just trim the excess around the edges so that they fit. And these photos are of my 19-month-old getting caught literally with his hand in the peanut butter jar. And it was a quiet day. We all were feeling sick, and I had given him some goldfish crackers for a snack, and I heard him go into the kitchen, but he has some toys in there. So I called him back into the living room and figured all was well, and had no clue that, sneaky and quiet as could be, he had reached the peanut butter on the table, managed to open it, and was gleefully just eating handfuls of it. And I was sick enough that I couldn't smell the peanut butter until I realized he was really quiet, and I sat up to check on him, and it was a disaster. First thing I did, of course, was grab my camera, and he had eaten enough that he wasn't even really upset that I took it away from him. It was pretty funny, actually. He had the most gleeful and smug look on his face. He definitely thought it was the best day ever. So I've decided on my background paper, and I'm just trying to decide how to orient the pictures here. Using that one rectangular frame actually kind of made it a little imbalanced, so I'm thinking about using this label to balance things out, and I'm just pulling embellishments. I'm looking for some gold to help balance that gold glittery frame. He's got orange in his shirt, so I'm kind of pulling that in a little, and then the teal or aqua kind of shades. And then I guess I grabbed some darker blue as well, just to kind of pull that in. I'm just pulling tons and tons of stuff. I'm looking through these 3x4 cards, and one of them says best day ever, and so I grabbed that just in case I want to add it in there, knowing that's kind of the theme I'm working with. Looking at this cut apart sheet to see if there's anything I want to use, and I do grab this one. Let me see what that says. Sorry, it says stop everything and dance, which I thought was kind of appropriate. And then I also pull out this other one that says make time for happy, but that ends up not making it to the final layout. So I'm just pulling a bunch of different stuff, trying to figure out what might work on this layout. I'm thinking about using some pattern paper, so I go through the 6x6 pad, but I don't really see anything I love, and I end up just going back with my initial plan to use embellishments only. So at this point I'm trying to actually figure out what I want to do with all of these embellishments, and I've sped the video up a bit faster. Hopefully it's not like nausea inducing, but I wanted you to be able to see how the process went without making this part drag on, because I actually don't keep any of this. I leave and come back and change the entire composition of the layout. So At this point, I'm trying to kind of focus on the left side and then the top left corner, and the right side in the bottom right corner in a roughly diagonal shape. I'm trying to add colors to both sections, and there I'm trying to figure out if the vellum is enough to cover that open empty space underneath the photo. And basically I'm just kind of struggling. I'm not liking the way that center part looks. I do like the idea of these 3 circles with hearts in the middle of them at the bottom, and that arrow is where I'm thinking about putting my title. And at this point I just decide to walk away and try coming back in a little bit. So I come back and decide I kind of hate this, and I just take it all apart. That kind of diagonal idea is something that I did like, so I decided to try my photos in a more diagonal orientation. And I don't like the vellum covering that open area, so I'm just taking this scrap from the Lemon Lush 6x6 pack, and I am covering up that little gap there with it. And I went ahead and used a little bit of that baking powder in the baby sock because I added too much adhesive, so that way I can move things around and it's not too sticky. And so now I'm trying to go with that more diagonal idea, and this works a lot better for me, I think. I've got those arrows pointing towards the peanut butter jar, and I'm adding kind of a circle on each side and then more square shape on each side. I've got that "You Only Live Once" banner there. I thought that was appropriate, but you can't really read it because there's too much different pattern behind it, so I'm going to use this scrap again to back it so you can see the words better. I was trying to peel the backing off, but there isn't any backing, so adhesive works better. And I decided to cut the end off so I can use the little banner piece up here at the top somewhere. I decided to kind of make it look like it's coming off of that top photo. And I really like having the balloons there above the word "sweet" and the little jar with the other circles on the other side. This is feeling much more balanced and like it's a lot better flow to me. Like I said before, I really do like the trio of circles and the star down in that lower right hand corner, so I put that back together. And I'm still feeling like the arrow is going to be pointing to my title. So I pull out these stickers which came in the kit, and they look like cork, but they're actually just chipboard. They're painted on, or printed. The cork board texture is printed on. This was a very long day, and the day I'm scrapbooking, and I am too lazy to get up and get wax paper, so I'm putting my title on rulers so I can kind of figure out placement. Literally, I am that pregnant. I did not want to get up and walk into the kitchen. It was too much that day. So I decided to use the corkboard to spell out "best day," and the Mistable thickers, these are from the Wanderlust collection, to spell out "ever" with a question mark. And okay, so I'm thinking about how I want to do the rest of the title, and like usual, that means working on something else for just a minute. I know that I want the title to be "Best Day Ever, Depends Who You Ask," and I want the "Depends Who You Ask" to be in a tinier font, so I'm just kind of thinking about what I want to do with that. I'm using a tiny bit of glossy accents to glue these pieces down, and then I'm covering the adhesive up with other vellum bits. So in this case I've got the heart, and I'm using my tiny attacher to attach the heart, and I guess really I could have just used a tiny attacher to attach the whole thing, but I've been having such a difficult time with arrangement of all these little vellum pieces that I just like the security of having the glue there as well. So again, just teeny tiny dots that are going to be easily covered up, and I'm using 2 staples to secure each piece. And now I'm going to start sticking these items down, starting with the photos. I know that I want that to actually layer on top. Committing, people. Committing to this design. I'm much happier with it than the vertical line. Again, just struggling a little bit with how to get this vellum to stick, using tiny bits of glossy accents. That little dot should be hidden by the sweet piece. Luckily, glossy accents takes a minute or 2 to dry, so I can still fiddle a tiny bit. And it's hard to see there, but you can actually, the strings go under the word "sweet," but over the picture you can actually see them. It's a nice little bit of texture, I think. The clock is great, I think, because it's the best day ever, but also kind of time flying. He's only going to be this little once. No, I didn't even yell at him. I just took it away and put it back in the pantry. It was my fault for leaving it out. Layering a couple pieces of vellum there. There's like a orangey pink circle and then a clear vellum with gold polka dot on top of it. And then those 3 little circles and the bell jar, which I thought fit. I'm stapling the arrows down on top of that frame to point at his little hand in the jar. I've got the navy and the clock, and so the navy and that star just kind of adds, again, aiming to get the colors kind of in 2 places to balance. And 1 more circle with a heart in the middle up at the top. Now I'm going to go back to working on my title, and I, again, sped this part up a little bit because I feel like it took a really long time. Please comment if you feel like it goes too fast or if it makes your head hurt or anything, so I know to stop doing that. I can cut whole sections out instead, but I like to see the whole process, so just let me know your thoughts on that, please. Here I'm using the Tide Pool Hero Arts ink dauber to color these letters, and that was so much easier than mists. I have a couple of colors, and I'm going to definitely do that again. And then I'm using the glossy accents to give these letters a little more stickiness because they're chipboard thickers, you know. Everybody knows they don't work as well as they sometimes could. And these ones especially seem to be pretty unsticky, at least my package. So just putting that down, and then the word ever, and those actually are quite sticky, so I'm not going to add any extra adhesive to them. I thought about using the black Teresa Collins letters there, but there's no other black on the layout, and it was going to be really a little much. So I have a package of the same little tile stickers, white stickers with black writing, and that's what I'm going to use instead. So there still is a little bit of black there, but it's much less heavy. And I'm going to write depends who you in those letters, and then lastly is going to be ask, and that's in the Ellie's Studio stickers that came in the kit. They're just called teal letters and numbers. So now I've got that little bit of black, and I want to add that in some other places. So I pull out the chipboard heart stickers from the Studio Calico Lemon Lush collection, and I'm just going to add a couple of those here and there to pull a little bit of that white and black out into other parts of the layout. That arrow is going to be used to draw attention to the title, and I'm just using my tiny attacher to staple that down. And we're getting close. I'm feeling like the top left is a bit bare, so I'm going to work on that a little, and then I also have to add my enamel dots that I always use. I'm using a trio of the aqua color from Teresa Collins and the black and the gold from the Charmed collection by My Mind's Eye. Just adding 3 different sizes in each little cluster, the top left and the title on the bottom right. And then I'm also going to use a little mist sprinkle to add to the randomness, add a little bit of extra detail. And I am using white Dilutions and teal Heidi Swap and black velvet Heidi Swap color shine. And again, just kind of putting it in those 3 areas. I like to do that when I use enamel dots, which are a lot more purposeful, to add kind of another random similar splatter. Just cleaning up my mess. That's another way to pull in a tiny bit of that black. I did it with the enamel dots too, and I think that just kind of balanced. So once again, I have to walk away, and I come back in the evening, so this is artificial lighting, working on the lighting situation, so I apologize for the drastic change there. Just trimming off the excess that's overlapping. I like to have my circles and things kind of overlap on the edges. I think it adds a nice sense of movement. And like I said earlier, I'm feeling like there's just a few spots that are a little empty. And this little vellum piece from the Maggie Holmes collection says cute. And I want to add 1 more heart to make this diagonal line not have so much of a break. I'm sticking my Scotch Quick Dry. I use both Scotch Quick Dry and glossy accents on this layout, kind of without much rhyme or reason. The glossy accents take a lot longer to dry, and so you have a little more space to fiddle with things. And I did want to say that everything that's vellum on this is coming from the Maggie Holmes style board vellum pack, and the bits of chipboard are from the Studio Calico Lemon Lush ephemera, and then that gold banner is from, again, the Lemon Lush collection, but it's just the POW glitter banners. I'm adding some sequins as a final little detail here, and those are Hip Kit Club exclusives. They just come with a mix of sequins. And now I'm using a Spectrum Noir marker, and I've tried 2 different colors here, to color the staples and make them a little less obviously silver. GB5 is the one I end up using to just take that silver tone out. It doesn't look exactly like a gold staple would. I think it's a little bit orange, but really it just helps it to blend, which was my main thing. And then I'm using some dimensional adhesive to just keep some of those corners from laying flat in my album. I use here the Best Creation 3D foam tape, which I think is a great deal. It comes like 1 million in a pack. And one final touch, I'm looking at the Style Board by Maggie Holmes word stickers, and I actually choose a few, but I end up only using one, and it says Cutie. It's going to go down to finish off that cluster in the lower right. And that is going to be it. I clipped out where I was fiddling with what I was going to journal or how. I end up actually typing it up and putting it in a pocket on the back with a pull tab. Now I'm going to show you some close-ups of some of the clusters, and excuse the appearance of the belly bump again. I'm using a point-and-shoot camera, and so I can't actually see what I'm showing you unless I stand up, and then you get the baby bump. So hopefully I'll be upgrading the video camera sometime soon. So there you've just got all the little bits of vellum and the Studio Calico hearts. And then I'm going to show you some still photos really quickly here. If you would like to see the still photos up close and not on video, you can check out my photo bucket, my Instagram, or my Pinterest. They will all be linked in the description below, as well as a link to my Facebook group, which is about creating instead of just collecting supplies. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.